Ladies and gentlemen, the situation just got far worse. We have multiple reports the rents are absolutely skyrocketing in Los Angeles, rents up over 124%. We're also going to go over the latest CPI data because yes, while the market may be up today, we're seeing very alarming signs with multiple areas in the CPI going up much higher than the Federal Reserve's mandate. We also have a very chilling warning, and this was very unusual for National Security Advisor of the United States, Jake Sullivan, saying in a press conference to prepare for an likely, he didn't say this is unlikely, he said prepare for an unlikely, unprecedented event over the next 5 days. We've also got huge layoffs announced by Meta. Meta is also announcing the end of their DEI, and Amazon is following suit. And we have things to cover what's going on in China with their largest military buildup since the 1930s. So we got so much to cover in today's video. It's going to be a very action-packed report. So let's not waste any time, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get straight into the news, the facts, and the data. Well, okay, look at this, everyone. Here's the inflation breakdown for December 2024 in one chart. So the stock market liked it today, but when we look under the hood, we can see things are much worse. So inflation actually rose 0.4% month over month. Now, if you analyze that, that's 4.8%, much higher than the Federal Reserve's mandate. Now, the annual headline was good. That's why the market liked it. It rose 2.9%, but again, that's still nearly 50% higher than the Federal Reserve's mandate. But look at these price rises. Food away from home up 3.6%, but look at this, eggs up 36%. I don't know about you, but I'm going to have to start investing in an egg farm. Definitely going to have to get some chickens in the backyard because, you know, eggs may become the golden goose. I've seen dozens of eggs selling for $10. We're seeing this juice plus drinks up 12%. Uncooked beef roast because, you know, part of the Great Reset, they don't want you to eat meat. That's up 7%. And we're seeing many other prices rise much faster, as you can see on this chart here, than the CPI goal of 2%. Not only this, but we're seeing utility pipe gas services up 4.9%. Video disc plus media, a lot of streaming services are hiking their prices. That's up 12%. Pet services up 11%. Motor vehicle insurance up 11%. And that's going to keep rising, especially, I think, home insurance and fire insurance costs in LA. That's going to send insurance premiums skyrocketing. Postage up 10%. Again, this is much higher than the Fed's goal of 2%. And we can see many more items going up much faster. Now, they're also going on and saying, well, look, Trump tariffs could make inflation worse, and that's definitely a possibility. So that's some uncertainty for the markets. Now, yes, while inflation has dropped from 9% when we saw in 2022, we can see a trend here that inflation is starting to tick back up again. So there definitely is still risks with inflation surging again. We're definitely seeing the US government in huge amounts of debt, so they're going to want to keep on printing and inflate away the debt. As you can see here, they report that eggs were a big swing factor, and that's definitely true, but we all know that the real inflation numbers are much higher than they're actually reporting. Now, also this shelter inflation, they're saying it's retreating, but again, I think LA wildfire is going to make rents surge. Is one of the biggest economies in the world. It has a GDP of $3.9 trillion. This is more than double the GDP of Australia, just one state. So you're going to have a lot of people fleeing the state. They're going to be looking for accommodation in other states, and they're going to make rent costs in those states surge as well. So the 4.6% annual inflation rate for housing in December was the lowest since January 2022. As the largest component of the price index, it has significant bearing on inflation trajectory. Again, I think that could be about to flip. They're saying it's only 4.7%. I'm seeing many reports of people seeing their rents go up much more than this, 10-20%. But good news, guys, your wages aren't keeping up with inflation. So wage growth continued to cool in December, even as the labor market remained strong. Average hourly earnings grew at 3.9% annual rate last month, down from 4% in November, according to separate Bureau of Labor Statistics. Now, again, they'll say, well, look, this is outpacing inflation because inflation is only 2.9%. No, real inflation is at least triple that, more like 9%. So wages aren't keeping up with inflation. That's why you're seeing people saying, look, I'm working a full-time job, but I can't even afford the basic essentials. Now, they're also reporting the CPI that some people may be bringing their purchases forward in case these tariffs come in and make the prices of things go up. We can see here in December, used car and truck prices jumped 1.2% during the month and 0.5% for new cars. So you may see some people worried that these tariffs are going to come in, make cars more expensive, and that's why they're bringing their purchases forward. Now, this is also because of the hurricane that happened in October. Now with the LA wildfires, there's going to be a lot of people needing another car, and we can see car insurance is up 11% over the past 12 months. Now, this is another alarming trend for inflation. We're seeing Brent crude start to rebound. It surged from around its lows. It dropped as low as $69, and it's now rebounding up to $82. And if this trend continues, we could see more pressure for inflation come back again. But okay, let's get into this report, everyone. This is very, very alarming. LA landlords hike rents as much 124% as fires force thousands to flee. Now, there is going to be, very, very rich people that can afford these rent hikes, but you're going to see the average Californian or the average LA tenant, they're not going to be able to afford these rent increases. And this is going to continue to make rent prices skyrocket in LA, and is going to continue to contribute to inflation because, again, LA, California is the richest state in America, so this is going to have domino effects across the whole country. So California's state of emergency declared by Governor Gavin Newsom on Tuesday bans price gouging for a range of goods and services, including rental housing. That means any rent increases above 10% since the start of the state of emergency is illegal for the duration of the crisis. And in my opinion, I think if you're price gouging through the state's worst crisis throughout history, I think that's something very unethical. But we're always going to see in these situations people try to profit from the chaos. Because look at this, a 5-bedroom rental in Santa Monica, which listed for $12,500 in February 2024, was going for $28,000 per month, an increase 124% after it was pulled from the market on Sunday. Now, James Wood also posted a tweet, or an X, whatever you want to call it. Clients of our friends were trying to lease a house while their home was being renovated. The lease was for $18,000 per month. They would have signed the papers the day of the fire. Now the people renting want $30,000. He says the vultures are circling and the flames aren't even out yet. Now, another person posted a furnished Bel Air home went on Zillow today for $29,500 a month. A few months ago, it was asking for $15,900. He said he called up the agent. She said she told her client to relist the home after this week's LA fires. People are desperate, she said. You can probably get good money. Again, something very, very unethical indeed. New York Times reported that people are so panicked and desperate to get into a house right now that they're just throwing money into the wind. Now, it's not just happening with the mansions in LA. According to Yahoo News, one small property, just 1,200 square foot, located in Woodland Hills, which was listed for $3,900 in November, is now priced at $5,900. And Ryan Dan says, congrats everyone, the price gouging for long-term rentals in Los Angeles have resulted in a license advisory notice sent out by the DRE. Now, in our next story, we're seeing every single day the costs balloon out of control. They're now saying, no, first they thought it was going to be maybe 10 million, 20 million, or 50 billion, should I say. Then they thought it was 100 billion. Now experts are saying it could cost up to 250 billion, and that's with no more fires breaking out. We're continuing to see fires break out again and again. We're continuing to see more arson happen across the state, and the LA mayor continues to come under heavy fire. But of course, as her city was burning down, and when she was campaigning, she would say, look, if you vote me as mayor, I will never leave the country. I'll be here 24/7 working for you. But no, she was sipping cocktails in Ghana as the Palisades burned to the ground. Now, the total economic cost of the fires is likely to move even higher because containment levels remain low. Rebuilding efforts are expected to take years, and a financial burden of reconstruction will likely be shared among local and federal governments, insurers, and residents. That's right. The rest of the country, you're going to have to foot the bill for this, for the wealthiest state in the country, they're now demanding the federal government bail them out. Again, a state that has the 5th highest GDP in the world is crying to their less wealthier neighbors for a handout. Now, we also saw a video here. This was supposed to be the water to put out the Palisades fire, but the LA Fire Department chief said she had no idea that it was empty.
This was supposed to be the water to put out the Palisades fire. This is the Santa Ynez Reservoir. It's the water supply basically for the Palisades. When they first started fighting the Palisades fire, they ran out of water extremely quickly. Wednesday, 3 a.m., they were basically out. And there's been a lot of talk on why this happened. So how long has this reservoir been empty for?
Since February of last year.
Empty since February last year. They knew the risk were mounting. It was closed for renovations, but he's saying there's no construction going on.
The Department of Water and Power to LAFD that there was a water supply issue.
The firefighters, when they started fighting the fires, no one informed them that the reservoir was empty.
You seriously can't be that incompetent to not tell your fire department that the reservoir is empty in such a high risk zone.
Reservoir holds 117 million gallons of water. The fire department was using a water supply from 3 backup tanks, each one only holding 1.
Now, I've been warning that I think this is arson. Obviously, there's going to be more spread from the winds, but I think there is a lot of arson going on. And the LA police chief says 3 suspected arsonists arrested after being caught amid deadly wildfires. So make no mistake, people, I will call this a terror attack. This is an act of terrorism. When you're burning a whole state to the ground, this is coming after we saw the attacks on January 1st. I think this is an act of terror. I think there are people that want to weaken the economy in the US, but they do not want to admit it. Now, you know what this is going to lead to, everyone? The state is going to be heavily, heavily indebted. And S&P just downgraded the Los Angeles Muni Utilities bonds by 2 notches. So not only are they going to have huge debt, but their interest costs are about to skyrocket. Because look at this. As I said, S&P downgraded Los Angeles Muni utility bonds by 2 notches. S&P 500 global ratings on Tuesday lowered the rating on municipal bonds sold by Los Angeles Department of Water and Power, downgrading utilities power system bonds by 2 notches to A from AA. The ratings company said that the rating on the power system bonds faced further significant downward pressure after devastating wildfires in Los Angeles. S&P also lowered its rating on the utility water system revenue bonds by 2 notches to AA minus from AA plus. Now, prices on the LADWP power bonds have already dropped in recent days as investors assess the damage posed by the fires. And this is exposing the financial vulnerability of these bonds. Although the utilities infrastructure has so far not been implicated as the cause of the ongoing wildfires, the increasing frequency and severity of highly destructive wildfires within the LADWP service territory and recent spread into more urban areas highlights the utility potential vulnerability to financial liability claims that could eclipse its liquidity and insurance coverage. Now, also, they were placed on credit watch with negative implications and an indication that further downgrades could be ahead. So make no mistake, everyone, this is going to be the costliest natural disaster in US history. Now, if 2025 couldn't be off to a crazier year with all these disasters going on, with all these attacks going on, we just got a very chilling warning from the National Security Advisor of the United States, Jake Sullivan, of an unprecedented event over the next few days.
I just will say one last word, which is, I hope this is my last time at this podium, at least for a little while. I don't mean that in a negative sense. I mean...
Get ready, watch this. He's laughing now, but his face gets very serious as he makes his statement.
The only thing that would bring me back is an unexpected event in the next few days, which, as you all know, is totally possible given what we've seen over the course of the past years. But if it is, in fact, my last time before you, I just want to say thank you for what you guys do every day. Thank you for putting up with me.
So that's insane, everyone. You can see he's joking, saying this is probably his last time here. But then he gets very, very serious. He says, unless there's an unexpected event in the next few days. Now, what are we leading up to? Trump's inauguration. What have we been seeing over the past 3 months? Well, we've seen attempts of his life. We saw the Cybertruck that was exploded out front of his tower. I'm sure there's been other people that may have wanted to do another attempt, but they were stopped by intelligence. So it's very, very unnerving that he would come out and say that an unexpected event could happen in the next few days, and it is likely. His job is meant to calm the public and say that, look, yes, something may happen in a few days, but it's very unlikely. But no, in this post, he says this is a likely event. Okay, now let's go into our next story. Meta announces big layoffs. 5% of their workforce will be laid off, they said, with an intense year coming in 2025. So Meta announces 5% cuts in preparation for intense year. Now they have 72,000 employees, so this is going to be around 3,500 employees laid off. And this was after we saw the huge cuts in 2023 when 21,000 jobs, nearly a quarter of the workforce, was gone. But in good news, they did announce they're no longer going to be fact-checking everyone. Instead, they're going to have community notes, because Mark Zuckerberg came on Joe Rogan's podcast and he admitted that yes, they were very biased. So fact checkers, yes, they were censoring information that was true. Yes, we were pressured by the Biden administration to censor many stories. It's all true. All the conspiracy theories were right. And he saw what Elon Musk is doing over on X, and he's like, hey, I think I want a bit of that. Not only that, but with Trump getting in, I think he's a big, huge flip-flopper. He's now reprogrammed his AI in his brain. I think they rewired his programming, because everyone calls him a robot or an AI bot or a lizard, whatever you want to call him. Now, all of a sudden, he's a full MAGA American. So here's a memo. Meta is working on building some of the most important technologies of the world. AR glasses as the next computing platform and the future of social media. This is going to be an intense year, and I want to make sure that we have the best people on our teams. I've decided to raise the bar on performance management and move out low performance faster. We typically manage people out who aren't meeting expectations over the course of a year, but now we're going to do more extensive performance-based cuts during this cycle. With the intention of backfilling these roles in 2025, we won't manage out everyone who didn't meet expectations for the last period if we're optimistic about their future performance. And for those we do let go, we'll provide generous severance in line with what we provided with previous cuts. Now, this is all because he said there's recently been a cultural tipping point, which I just think really happened is the left went too far to the left. They went absolutely insane, and people in the middle like, okay, you're getting a bit crazy there. Towards once again prioritizing free speech. We're also going to go back to our roots and focus on reducing mistakes, simplifying our policies, and restoring free expression on our platforms, he said in a video announcement. So why I don't trust Mark Zuckerberg, why I think he's only flip-flopping now because it's popular to talk about free speech while it's more culturally acceptable to have conservative values, I will take this as a win. Because in this next report, Meta has announced the end of their DI programs, which is another big win. Especially there's been a lot of young white males that are coming out of university. They're graduating college, they've got their degrees, but they go to corporate America, and corporate America pretty much says, look, no, we don't really need any more white males. They try to get into the police force, the fire department. We saw in LA someone bring out a story that they've been on the waiting list for 7 years in LA to try to get into the fire department. And there was a woman that just applied last week. So she got in much quicker. And apparently for exposing this was a conspiracy theory 5 years ago. If you're exposing this, you were racist. But literally them hiring people based on their cultural background is illegal. You cannot do this. Now also Amazon is following suit as well, and they're ending their DI program. Now in our next story, if you think things couldn't get any crazier, we are seeing tensions build in the Pacific. So China Xi says no one can stop reunification with Taiwan. Now, I know he has said this many times. You may think, oh, this is just another time he's just saying this. But this comes after this report, because look at this, everyone. China orders the largest military buildup since Germany did in the 1930s. So they're massively building up their nuclear arsenal, and they expect them to exceed 1,000 warheads by 2030, only 5 years from now, probably only going to be bigger than that. The Chinese Navy, not only by tonnage but by numbers, is now larger than the US Navy. China has something like 250 times the shipbuilding capacity that America does. Among other expansions, China has increased the arsenal of the People's Liberation Army rocket force by 50 new intercontinental ballistic missiles, bringing the new total to around 400. Now, also the Department of Defense has reported that 300 more medium-range ballistic missiles and 100 long-range cruise missiles have also been added. So this build-up is very alarming, everyone. And we're seeing the trade wars that are escalating between the US and China. And this always happens throughout history. number one and number two always end up going head to head because everybody wants to be number one. Right now, China's number two, the US has been number one for a very long time, but they have big ambitions, and I think things are going to escalate over the next 2 years. Because what have we seen? Biden was very soft on China, but Donald Trump has vowed to crack down on China, both in terms of trade and military ambition. And this could all be because they know Trump is going to be much tougher than Biden, and they're going to want a lot more leverage at the negotiating table. So everyone, a lot of crazy news is happening in the world right now. What do you think about these stories? Let me know down below. Now, for my loyal viewers and subscribers still watching, you're awesome. Thanks for watching. I'll see you all in the next video.